That's why the police report, where it reads on the very front, partial police report, Sanford Police Department, offense number 1, description, homicide, negligent manslaughter, unnecessary killing to prevent unlawful act. Now, some people are saying, well, this is there. Why did they were thinking?
Those are 3 potential criminal statutes that are noted, right? Exactly,
because right next to that you have the statute number, and then you have the UCR, which is Uniform Crime Report number, which is 090C. That is the code when you have an offense or you have something like this happen in any city. You send at the end of the year, you send all your reports in to the Uniform Crime Report statistics at the FBI, who keeps track of all the statistics nationwide, and that's one of the codes. But these are potential. This is what he was involved in. Now, if he had shot Trayvon, and Trayvon was transported to the hospital, it was not pronounced there on the scene. It might have been an assault with a dangerous weapon, whatever their statute said. In D.C., it would have been ADW gun, until the person died. Then it would be reclassified. But still, it says open, right there. It says clearance code 0. And that's from the reporting officer, Ricardo Ayala. Clearance code 0, case open, not closed. Now, if it was if he was arrested, it would have had said closed. And in a supplemental report we used to do in D.C., had a certain number, I would make a report, case closed with the arrest of George Zimmerman, date of birth so-and-so and so-and-so. Okay. But we do not see that on this initial report.
Okay, so these 3 potential criminal statutes that were noted, right. Negligent homicide, manslaughter, and unnecessary killing to prevent an unlawful act.
Correct.
Are those all possible charges George Zimmerman could still face?
You have the highest, which if they found that if there was probable cause for homicide, he could be charged with homicide. Then you have, as we see in a lot of cases here, basically the lesser included, the lesser offenses. So let's say he was arrested for this. Would he be charged with homicide? Would it be first degree, second degree? But then the other offense, if they didn't find him guilty, would be negligent manslaughter, and then unnecessary killing to prevent unlawful act. Basically the lesser included, if you will, under this same homicide, death, the killing of another statute.
Okay, now there have been a lot of criticisms about the Sanford police.
Yes.
The fact that they didn't take his clothing, that they didn't give him any toxicology tests in terms of, a DUI test or a breathalyzer or anything to try to find out. Yeah. Did they screw up, Mike? I mean, somebody's dead. A kid is dead.
Well, there's no excuse.
And I don't want to point the finger at police because they help us.
But Christy,
immeasurably.
let's take a look at we cover these cases here on this session all the time, and we see a lot of times if someone is involved with the death of another at their hand during the interview at some point or another, the police detectives, the investigators will take the clothing, and you see him sitting there in a Tyvek suit. Because that clothing will tell a story. How close? Was there any blood? Was there any exchange? Was there any DNA from Trayvon on his clothes? What was on Trayvon? Because if he had a gun and he shot Trayvon in the chest, we would maybe see how close was there, because could there be any blood exchange back from Trayvon onto him? What was the shape of his clothes? It was wet. Was there grass on the back? All this would help fill in some of these pieces of the puzzle that we just don't know yet, and law enforcement is not telling us yet. But that's evidence. That's all potential evidence. I want to also know what the autopsy report says, because you take the autopsy report, as we see in cases all the time, you take the autopsy report, you take the evidence that he has on, evidence from the scene, witness statements, all this, you put it all together, and that's how you put the puzzle together. Right, but people say that
there is evidence missing because they didn't do those things.
Right. It is interesting because, what was it? There was a press release on March, I got it back in the office, I think on March 12th, it basically said, well, we're completing our investigation. We have done numerous canvasses of the neighborhood. That night, though, did they do a proper canvass? Did they go to each one of those houses along the row where the shooting happened? Did they go and knock on all those doors? Did they do a sufficient neighborhood canvass? That remains to be seen. Okay. We know on the initial report there are 6 witnesses that are adult witnesses that were on the report. Their address and everything and their name has been blacked out. but we do know they talked to at least 6 people. You know, were these 6 people, were they the ones that maybe where the 911 calls came from, and the other calls to Sanford police? We don't know.